Hey guys, and welcome to the first ever episode of Making Fitness More Human with me, Kyle. Thank you first of all for joining me in this journey. Happy New Year to everyone who is watching. I hope you enjoy this journey that we're going to embark on about kind of speaking to other instructors, having raw conversations about what it's like to be on the other side of the fitness industry. And I felt that it was only right and only appropriate that the first episode was with me. So enjoy. If you have any questions, any feedback, any follow-up, please like, support, share us on social media, and enjoy. So I've always been involved in fitness ever since I was young. I played rugby from a very young age, got into fitness. Everything was kind of fitness related. I was never, ever going to work in an office, like never. It wasn't even a thing like from school. So I kind of fell into the fitness industry after I stopped playing rugby. I stopped playing rugby when I was 20. So yeah, kind of just had to find something else. So then got into coaching first of all. So I started coaching in schools, coaching rugby in schools. But then I realised that I wasn't going to be teaching kids forever. So then got involved in the gym industry, the fitness industry, kind of started doing PTing, and then got introduced to group exercise. So I started with Les Mills first of all. Taught body pump, and then randomly the gym that I was working at the time said, Kyle, you're going to go on this course called RPM, which was cycling. I was like, no, I'm not going on a cycling course. I'm not doing spin or ride or any of these things. And they were like, well, we put your name down, you're going. So I went. Honestly, I was not up for it. I was not keen, but I went, and honestly, one of the trainers that I met there on that course is still a very good friend of mine right now, and I loved it. And honestly, that was probably now, 9 years ago, something like that. So I've been teaching ride and group fitness and group exercise since then. So that's kind of how I first got into fitness. I think what helps you teach after all this time is that you need to love something more than just the workout. I think it's all well and good to love the workout and love training and exercise and fitness, but for me it's music. I love music. I love finding new music. I love what comes with a new song playing in a massive room, all these sorts of things. So I love that aspect of it more than just the workout. I think that you do get a little bit bored of just teaching fitness the whole time if it's fitness. So for me, it's finding something outside of the workout to keep you engaged. Whether that's teaching at different studios or more than one studio, more than one different type of workout, whether it's new lights or these types of things. But for me, it's new music. So I'm going to put it out there right now, and if any of you have been in my class at 6 a.m, I hate it. I would much rather teach at 11 p.m. than 6 a.m. You show up, you put your class on, you do your best, but inside, I am tired. Genuinely, it hurts my soul to teach at 6 a.m. So yeah, but as for a schedule, it is a little bit harder because obviously you don't always have your evenings to yourself. You don't always have the weekends to yourself. You need to kind of plug in and out of social situations, and if people are kind of going out, then maybe you need to leave a little bit earlier or these sorts of things, or you just deal with it in the morning. So yeah, it is a little bit harder, but obviously after kind of years of experience, you get used to it. So one of the main reasons that I wanted to do this podcast was to show that there is a difference between a person in class and out of class. The way that I'm speaking right now, the way that I'm chilled out right now, there's a difference between the person in the studio and the person outside. Me personally, I am a very introverted person. I'm not massive on social situations. So yeah, it's a switch. And kind of as we go through this podcast and speak to other instructors, I hope that I'm not alone in this, that it is just a switch that you turn on. I once got told that when you come like through the door of the studio, you're like on. It's almost like, it's not an act, but it's almost like a show. So once you walk through the studio doors, that's it. Like you switch the light on, and it comes in, and you have your studio personality. So yeah, it's not. I wouldn't say it's a struggle to flip the switch on and off, but it is definitely, there is a difference in the person. If you know me kind of outside of the studio and outside of fitness, like I am social. I think everyone's social in some respect, but I'm not the most social person. Like I like to spend a lot of time by myself, or in kind of small groups with like 1 or 2 people. I think that probably one of the things that people won't know is that in a social situation, more than 5, I fold. Like you'll find me in the corner, like just sitting by myself or talking to one person. And also just so I suffer from a lot of, sometimes I think that people don't really care. Like why would someone care? Like the whole kind of, so just to let you know, this is the second day that I've tried to record this podcast, because I tried yesterday and it was a massive fail. I didn't even get to the point of looking at the camera. I tried to set up a couple of things and essentially came to the conclusion that no one will care what I have to say right now. And I think that that's a lot of like my own insecurities and stuff coming out. When I speak about like insecurities and stuff, I think that body image and body type and stuff is something that I really struggle with. I would like to think I'm good at what I do. Like I think that over the years I've kind of proved myself to enough studios and enough people that I know my stuff. But always when it comes to photo shoots or social media rounds or these types of things, I have a very self-deprecating personality, where I'll look at something and be like, nah, like I look shit, or I look fat, or I look like I'm too white, or I've got grey hair, or these types of things. And I think that, because essentially if you were to ask me the raw question, I don't think that someone that, in my own personal opinion, I don't think that someone that looks like me should be in group fitness. And I think that that's a mindset and a mentality that I've really struggled with for a long time. That I was in a marketing video for one of the studios I teach at the other day, and kind of I was like, oh my god, like, she looks amazing. Oh my god, like look at him, like he looks so good, like he speaks so well. And like, oh my god, wow, like look at her. And then like my bit came and I was like it looks, like, I'm not happy with these types of things. And yeah, like, I think that this is something that can relate to a lot of people, right? Like when you get the people or the new person that comes into the studio or the gym or whatever and thinks that I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know how to lift, and I don't know where to go, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm out of shape, and I'm overweight, and all these things. I think that these thoughts are with all of us, and whether it's body, whether it's eating, whether it's diet. My diet is terrible. Like it's terrible. Like and I know that right now people are going to be like, well, like you're insecure about your weight and you're insecure about the way you look, but you're saying your diet is terrible. Like that's just a kind of an easy fix, right? But for me, like I emotionally eat a lot. So now like I'm finding out more that I've been struggling with things for the last for many years. It's now brought to my attention that I emotionally eat a lot. So when someone says like, oh, let's go for breakfast, like I'll probably end up having like double what the other person has, just because I find comfort in like that food or whatever. And let's be honest, like 90% of my diet is chocolate anyway. So yeah. So first of all, I want to talk about intimidation. I think that the fitness industry in the world is kind of taking over social media right now. Whether it's online PTs, whether it's influencer trainers, whether it's kind of superstar coaches, all these sorts of things. I think that it is easy to get kind of influenced and intimidated by other instructors. Personally, I think that I'm very secure in my own class style and my own class way of teaching, which I'm sure we'll talk about more, but I think the intimidation comes from potentially the people that you see next to you rather than people on social media. I wouldn't really say that I'm very heavily influenced by the people that I see on social media. Obviously there are bits and pieces, you pick up songs that people use in Mexico or random places, but I think stylistically, me personally, I'm quite kind of confident in my own ability that I'm not influenced by what's going on online. But I think that probably as we go through these conversations, I think that answer might change quite a lot. So I'm excited to know about other instructors on that. It's been brought to my attention more recently that I've been struggling with a lot of things for a long time, kind of mental health wise and all these sorts of things. And I thought to myself that like, there's no way that I'm the only fitness instructor that's going through this, or if I am, then I'm like, this episode will be one and that's it, like done. I think that teaching for me is very personal. I think that if you have been to my class in the past, you'll kind of realize that I almost like put my heart and soul on the line. And that's one of the reasons that I almost wanted to put together this podcast and kind of allow people to see on the outside that we are human as well, right? I think that very early on in my career, like one of the first things I ever got taught, and it will stay with me for a long time, is that when you're going to take a class, you park your shit at the door, you take your class, and then you pick it up again when you leave. And I think that that's a really good but also negative metaphor at the same time, because you're almost dehumanizing yourself, right? You're saying that my problems and my struggles right now don't really count. And when you're teaching 10, 12, 15 classes a week, that's a lot of time to leave your stuff and pick it up and leave your stuff and pick it up. So whilst I think it's a really good metaphor, that I think that, yeah, of course, that the main person and the main people in the class are the participants, I think that as instructors we shouldn't really be told to leave our stuff and kind of pick it up later on, because whilst there is a motivational setting and an inspirational setting in the class, I think that we can also inspire ourselves by doing what we do. So one thing that I've kind of been brought to light in the last little while is that honestly I've been struggling with quite a lot of things for like a long time now. Things that I haven't dealt with or things that I haven't processed, and this is my job, right? So people have mental health breaks at work, people have like time off and days off at work where they're like, oh, okay, like I'm not really feeling it today, like, oh, I'm not going to come into the office, or I'm not going to come into school or to wherever you work. But I think as fitness instructors, it's almost just expected of us to be on our A game every single day. And this is where, when I spoke earlier on about almost it being an act or a show, that sentence again, like leave your stuff at the door. It's like, okay, your stuff doesn't matter right now. So your job is to kind of get these people through the next 45 minutes and then out they go. One major example that I've had recently is that I had quite a big life event happen at 6 a.m. on a Thursday morning. And I had class at 7:30 on Thursday morning. So I then had to leave that situation that I had and leave my shit at the door and take my participants through that class at 7:30 on the Thursday morning, because I feel like you can't say no, I'm not teaching now, because then you're letting down 10, 15, maybe 20 people that are going to come to your class and see you shine and see you be the superstar that you are, whilst you are absolutely smashing your workout and the lights are going and the music's going and everyone's having an amazing time. That sometimes you want to just go to the side of the studio and just like curl into a little ball and be like, I really, really, really don't want to be here right now. And I hope that people can understand that on like a human level, that yes, like this is our job, but at the end of the day, like we have stuff going on as well. So that's again one of the main reasons why I wanted to kind of speak up about this and say that like it's not necessarily just all sunshines and rainbows on our side, you know. One massive event that happened in my life was that my mum died 9 years ago. So at that time when I was teaching then, I was teaching in schools and I was teaching rugby in schools. And again, at that point, you're like, well, you're now teaching kids. So again, like your stuff is kind of parked to the side. So essentially, I went to work the next day after my mum died because like it was kind of like you keep the show going and you keep everything kind of happy and keep moving on. So yeah, the day that my mum died was the 14th of December, and kind of most of the time, regardless of what day it is, you teach on that day, right? So I think kind of that is the hardest time or the hardest class that like I have to teach personally. Normally what I do is I'll make the playlist surrounding like something to do with kind of so my mum kind of had a whole like kind of cancer journey and stuff, so I'll make the playlist a little bit more catered towards like female empowerment or struggle and journey and rising up and all these sorts of things. Just to like I said before, that I teach a lot with emotion, and if I can use music and use these types of emotions to get myself through the class, then like I know it'll be a pretty good class to be honest. So I think that when you walk into the studio, you have to be the most social person in the room, because you are dealing with people who are first timers, you're dealing with people who come there every single day, you're dealing with people who are your friends, you're dealing with people who you've never met before. So I think that like you need to play all these parts and put all these different hats on and be the friend to this guy and be like the support to this person and be the kind of the hand holder to this person who's coming into the first time. So I think that yeah, like in the studio you have to be like the biggest personality there. When we speak about people with different struggles, just like I just said that I have different struggles and kind of all these things, I think that it's important to have lots of different tools to kind of play on. So again, if you've been to my class before, you'll know that it's a little bit more kind of a motivational journey, more kind of along the lines of like self-empowerment and self-development and a lot about self. But you also need to be able to kind of be a little bit more of an army, kind of like sergeant major, if you have the person in the class who really wants to hit like a personal best on calories, or really wants to hit like a personal best on like different weights or these types of things. So I think it's really important that as an instructor you hit all different types of motivational cues, and I think that those are the people who kind of are most successful in the industry, that you can talk to 4 different people at once by saying the same thing, but you can also just bolt on something else to the same sentence. So you start with like something motivational and then bolt on a little bit of like a little bit more kind of aggressive, like fire up kind of language, and then you're talking to 20 people at one time. And what might be motivational for me might not be motivational for the next person. So just packaging the same thing in different ways really helps with kind of getting everyone on board at the same time. I do not have a script. I do not script any class. I know the music that I play. I think what's going to be wild for people to know, by the way, is that I will make my playlist of my class maybe 4 hours before the class, maybe less. But for me personally, I teach depending on how I feel in that moment. I would really struggle to make a playlist today and teach it 3 days later. And that comes into not scripting things, because I think that potentially other instructors or maybe less experienced instructors, or if you've been trained in a way that you write everything down, I teach everything on feel. Teach how I am based on the vibe and the feeling that the song is giving me at that time. If I was to script stuff, I think I'd start tripping over words and it would be a mess. How do I stick to a recurring theme? Most of the time, I pick my theme and my word of the class either as I'm strapping into the bike, or as I'm setting up the weights, or as I'm doing whatever, or during the warm-up. I'll get the vibe from the class, or if it's a certain time of year, like the last couple of classes have obviously been about kind of working into 2024 and these things, but I will not script anything because I want to give the person in the class the most authentic version of myself. And I feel that I do that best by just freestyling it. And as loose and ropey as that sounds, that's just, yeah, that's how it happens. There was one time I was teaching a class in Bahrain, and it was during COVID, it was during lockdown, and the class capacities were less, and we only had 10 bikes in the studio, and one guy, I love him to bits, one guy's pedal broke during the class, and so then I took my bike off the stage, wheeled it over to him, gave him my bike, and then taught the rest of the class with no bike. so I think that is probably one of the yeah, that's probably a disaster that we kind of had. So yeah, that was fun. I love feedback. This is a genuine thing. I genuinely love feedback. So if you're there and you're listening and you're in my class next, give me some feedback. Because this is not me being arrogant, it's not me being big-headed, it's not. I think that every single other instructor will get the same response where you could teach. So for a start, I'm definitely a perfectionist when I teach. Like, if I get one timing change wrong or one kind of song wrong or say the wrong name of an exercise or whatever, it really kind of, less now, but it used to really upset me and it would like throw off the rest of the class. So I think that I analyze my own performance a lot, almost to the point now where people are saying that it was a good class. I love it. I want people to tell or to feel and know that it was a good class. But to me, it was a good class isn't feedback. You know? And that sounds so selfish because it's like, well, take it. Like, take the good compliment, you know. But I love it when people come and say, oh, I liked that song, but maybe it was a little bit too heavy, or oh, I liked that workout, but I struggled with this, because it then means that for the next class or the next time I teach or whatever, that I can reanalyze or reassess and think, oh, okay, this guy's in class. Last time he said he doesn't like jumping, so now I can tailor my class more to that person. So I think that that's where feedback really is important, and not just, yay, well done. So I think it's really important that people realize that gym A or gym B or gym C might not be for that person. There are CrossFit gyms, there are box gyms, there are boutique gyms, there are every type of gym. And I think that as a fitness community, it's really important that we support the person, the participant, as much as we can. And big up and support other studios at the same time, or other gyms at the same time, and say that, look, you've came to a CrossFit gym. CrossFit is clearly not for you because of ABC. So why don't you try this? I think that that's really important, and it's something that I think that some studios do, some people don't do in the industry. That it's you train here and that's it. And whether you like it or not, and this is the only gym in the Middle East that you go to, and I don't think it should be like that. I think that Dubai is such an open market now that people can go to a different gym every year and never go to the same gym. So I think that it is important that we support each other and kind of say like, look, maybe try somewhere else, or maybe try, like, I have experience, or this person's my friend, or this, I know this guy really well, or I used to teach with this girl, she's amazing. Yeah, I think it's really important that we support each other in that way. So whilst I've said about that I emotionally eat and all these things, I think that I think it's actually really important for trainers to actually train themselves. And I know that that's probably like obvious, but I have never had a PT before in my life. But what I have done in the last week or so is I've actually signed up for one of my friends who is a trainer, who's doing like a kind of 8-week, 12-week kind of like 2024 introduction, like lifestyle change and these things. I've actually signed up for that as a trainer. So I think it'll be really cool for me to kind of be a participant also. That I think as trainers sometimes we think, oh no, I'm a trainer, like I will never take myself down to be a participant in these things. So I'm actually super excited for that, to be on that journey, like that I will talk about my own food and my own insecurities and my own diet and my own training style and these things. So yeah, I think that it's also important to know that you're never above being a participant. So yeah, that's my kind of moving forward goal for my eating and diet. And so 2 studios that I'm really excited to kind of see what they come up with in 2024. One is the Lab in near downtown. A couple of guys who kind of have moved from one studio to another studio, or kind of set up their own studio, that I'm super excited to see what they have. They've got some really cool concepts. So yeah, I'm super excited to see what they do. And then also Storm. I love what Storm do for the predominantly female market in Dubai. I love that they are happy with where they are with regards to that they're a predominantly female-only studio. They smash their ladies' classes. They do amazing things like for kind of like community outreach. The other day they had a ride that they went to Hatta, like the Hatta sign. So yeah, I'm super excited to see what they do as well. Trainers that inspire me are people who are humble. I don't think you need to be the best instructor to inspire someone, and people who inspire me a lot are people who are humble in what they do, and they realize and know the impact that they have on people's lives. They are people who inspire me. Like I kind of alluded to before, like I'm not heavily influenced by people that are online. I think it's really hard to kind of get, as an instructor, I think it's hard to pick up influence and kind of these things through a screen. So for me, the people who inspire me are the ones who go about their business like quite quietly. They're humble in what they do, and they realize that they can still get better. It's a song that I don't actually use often. This song, Ugly Heart, I honestly can't even remember right now who even sings it, but yeah, that song, like it's a personal song to me, like, and it's a song that if I needed to perform a song to like save my life, like that would be the one. The story that makes it all worth it. I think there are sometimes people come into your classes and you have no idea the impact that they're going to have on you as an instructor. I hope this person doesn't mind me sharing this story, but there was a person who came into one of the studios I used to teach at, and in the first class she came to me and she said, like, I haven't really done this before, like I don't really know what I'm doing, like I'll just, hopefully I get through. And she actually fainted in that class. She fainted in that class, and we had to keep the class going whilst getting her off the bike, sitting her down on the floor, taking her feet out of the clips and all these things. And honestly, it it was a pretty scary experience at the time, but like we managed to get her out of the room safely and all these things, and then yeah, so kind of that, from that moment on, like I made it my like personal mission to always make sure that this person was okay. And 6 months later, when I did my final kind of couple of rides or classes in that studio, she did her first ever double back-to-back class. So from like in a 6 month period, from kind of going from not even making it through half an hour of a 45-minute class and fully kind of like fully like fainting in class, to doing an hour and a half worth of work. Yeah, it's stories like that. It's people like that that are so unassuming and don't make a big song and dance, and they're the ones that kind of like leave an imprint on you for years. And it's for people like that you keep doing what you do. Like, so there we go, guys. That is the end of my podcast where I spoke to myself for a little bit. I hope you enjoyed it, first of all, and just a little bit of a kind of heads up of what's to come is that at the end of every episode, I'm going to ask the person who I've interviewed currently to pass on a question for the next guest. Okay, they won't know who it is. Obviously, I know who the next guests are because it's me that's kind of organised it. So the question that I want to ask these next people is, when you are a family and when you're working with your sister in the same industry, is there ever any level of competition between the two of you? So there we go. That is the question that I'm going to ask the next guests. If you know about the Dubai fitness scene, you maybe know who they are already. If not, then I'm super excited for you to join along. And again, any questions, any comments, please like, share, whatever you want to do. Just give me some feedback. Again, I asked for it earlier on, so now you've got an open opportunity. So there we go.